Hello friends, today we will learn about gene mapping methods. First point is linkage mapping. Linkage maps using crossing over. Morgan student, a scientist named Morgan's student Stott Evans postulated that the greater the distance between the linked genes, the greater the chance that non-sister chromatids would cross over in the region between the genes, and hence the greater the proportion of recombinants that would be produced. Thus, by determining the frequency of recombinants, we can obtain a measure of a map distance between the genes. One genetic map unit, that means MU, in short MU, is defined as the distance between genes for which one product of meiosis in 100 is recombinant. This is equal to the recombinant frequency of 1% or 0.01, and a map unit is sometimes referred to as a centimorgan, cm, in honor of T.H. Morgan. The recombinant frequency can get a maximum value of 50%, as the rest will be parental combination. Linkage maps or genetic maps are constructed on the basis of recombination frequency. This method can be used to make genetic linkage maps for Drosophila, maize, mouse, and so on, in which we can observe the recombinant frequency. Genes have been found to occur in a distinct set of linkage groups, with each linkage group corresponding to one of the pairs of homologous chromosomes in the genome of that species. For example, mouse has 20 pairs of chromosomes, therefore 20 linkage groups. All the linked genes in a linkage group are linearly arranged. Two factors crosses. Let's know about two factors crosses. If we take two genes at the time and observe its recombinant frequency, then it is termed two-factor cross. If a cross yields a recombinant frequency of 9% between gene A and gene B, then the distance between the two will be 9 map units, that is MU, 9 MU. Similarly, if another cross yields recombinant frequency of 4% between gene B and gene C, then the distance between the two will be 4 map units, 4 MU. One assumption here is that distance between gene A and gene C will be addition of the above two distance. However, this assumption do not hold true with the increased distance. It has been observed that when the distance between two genes are large, the recombinant frequency is significantly lower than what additivity principle would predict. The reason is that when two loci are far apart, double crossovers occur at significant frequencies. Three-factor crosses. These involve three pairs of alleles. They allow us to detect some of the double crossovers which were not recognizable in two-factor crosses. In addition, three-factor crosses allow to order the involved pairs of alleles. Let's know about interference. The detection of double crossover makes it possible to determine whether exchange in two different regions of a pair of chromosomes are formed independently of each other. If recombination is independent in the two regions, which means that the formation of one crossover does not alter the probability of the second crossover. The probability of a second recombination in both regions is the product of these separate probabilities. Such deficiencies in the observed number of double recombinant are common. They reflect a phenomenon called chromosome interference, in which a crossover in one region of a chromosome reduces the probability of a second crossover in a nearby region. Over short genetic distance, chromosome interference is nearly complete. The degree of interference is measured by the coefficient of coincidence, which is simply the ratio of the observed to the expected frequency of double crossover gametes. That is, coefficient of coincidence equals to observed double crossover frequency divided by expected double crossover frequency, where the expected double crossover frequency is that predicted if the two crossover are independent events. In the absence of interference, the coefficient of coincidence will equal to 1. Sometimes labels of interference are given as the coefficient of interference, which equal 1 minus the coefficient of coincidence. The coefficient of interference will thus be 0 in the absence of interference. Interference values between 0 and 1 indicate that positive interference has occurred. Positive interference indicates that one crossover interferes with the occurrence of a second crossover nearby. In certain microorganisms, particularly bacteriophages, coefficient of coincidence greater than 1 often occur. Coefficient of coincidence larger than 1 indicate that the occurrence of one crossover increases the likelihood of an additional crossover occurring nearby. This second type of interference is called negative interference. The effect of interference on the relationship between genetic map distance and the frequency of recombination is illustrated as we know. Such each curve is an example of a mapping function, which is the mathematical relationship between the genetic across an interval in map units, that is centimorgans, and the observed frequency of recombination across the interval. And in other words, a mapping function tells one how to convert a map distance between genetic markers into a recombination frequency between the markers. As we have seen, when the map distance between the markers is small, the recombination frequency equals the map distance. Now let's know about tetrad analysis. In some organisms, the 4 haploid cells formed when a mother cell goes through meiosis are held together as a group of 4 cells called a tetrad. The knowledge that a specific group of 4 cells are products of a single meiosis can be used to estimate the map distance between loci without the use of a map function by a procedure called tetrad analysis. Tetrad analysis has been extensively utilized in fungi such as yeast and neurospora. However, there are also some animals, higher plants and algae in which tetrad analysis can be performed. In some organisms such as neurospora, the haploid products of meiosis are ordered such that one knows which one separated at the first meiotic division and which one separated at the second mitotic division. This extra information can be used to map the location of the centromeres. When a diploid yeast, that is, for example, Saccharomyces cerevisiae cell goes through meiosis, the 4 haploid spores that are found are held together in an ascus, means a tiny sac. We characterize tetrad based upon the number of parental and recombinant spores they contain. Consider a cross between an matting type haploid yeast strain of genotype H1S4-TRP1 with a matching type haploid yeast strain of the opposite genotype H1S4-TRP1. These two genes are unlinked. The possible kinds of tetrad are parental ditype PD, a tetrad containing 4 haploid cells of parental classes. Non-parental ditype NPD, a tetrad containing 4 recombinant haploid cells. That means the two parental classes have recombined to form the reciprocal non-parental combination of alleles. Now come to tetratype T. A tetrad containing 4 kinds of haploid cells, 2 different parental class spores and 2 different recombinant class spores in crosses involving 2 unlinked genes. Tetratypes arise when a crossover occurs between one of the 2 genes and its centromere. Let's know about mitotic products. How you will know the mitotic products? Let's know PD, ARG3, URA2, ARG3, URA2, ARG3, URA2, ARG3, URA2. That is 127 equals to 127 NPD, ARG3, URA2, ARG3, URA2, ARG3, URA2, ARG3, URA2, 3. T, ARG3, URA2, ARG3, URA2, ARG3, URA2, ARG3, URA2, 70. Recombination frequency RF equals to NPD plus 1 by 2 T whole divided by total number of tetrads into 100. Our example, this is suppose 3 plus, here 3 plus 1 by 2, 7 into 7 divided by 200 into whole into 100 equals to 19 map units. The equation will be modified to obtain a better estimation of map distance. If we draw out the possible crossover events between 2 linked genes, we can see the different tetrads. And let's know about ordered tetrad. This modified equation makes 2 assumptions. There are no more than 2 crossovers in the interval. There is no chromosomal interference. Ordered tetrads and gene centromeres distance. In Neurospora crassa, meiosis occurs the tight confines of a narrow arcus, resulting in the formation of ordered tetrad. Because of the precise positioning of each mitotic product within the ascus, one can interpret the arrangement of each chromatid of homologous chromosomes during meiosis 1 and 2. This gives information about the distance between the genes and its centromeres. Meiosis 2 is followed by mitosis. Each pair of genetically identical daughter sites adjacent to one another. Each ascus is thus made up of 8 haploid ascospores. We will take an example in which we will look at the outcomes when there is and is not a crossover between a locus A and centromere. When there is no crossover, the 4 A spores are at one end of the ascus and the 4 A spores at the other end. The different alleles capital A and small a segregates apart at the first mitotic division. This pattern is called fast division segregation, FD. The lower panel of the figure shows the results when there is a crossover between the locus and its centromeres. Meiosis 1 produces two daughter cells, each of which is capital A, small a. The different alleles, capital A and small a, then segregate apart at the second mitotic division. After the mitotic division, the final pattern is capital A, small a, small a, capital A, small a, which is called second division segregation. Since ASCII shows SD have two chromosomes with recombination between the centromere and the locus plus two non-recombinant chromosomes, we can calculate the distance between the locus and the centromere are D equals to 1 by 2 whole of SD by N into 100. There is a 1 by 2 in the equation. Only 1 by 2 of the chromosomes in a SD ascus are recombinant. There are a total of 300 ASCII, of which 100 are SD. So D equals to 1 by 2 whole of 100 by 300 into 100 equals to 16.6. As the distance increases up to 50 units, in theory, all ASCII should result from second division segregation. However, numerous factors prevent this. As in diploid organisms, accuracy is greatest when the gene and the centromere are relatively close together. Now, let's know about mapping with molecular markers. A molecular marker is a site of heterozygosity for some type of silent DNA variation not associated with any measurable phenotypic variation. Such a DNA locus, when heterozygous, can be used in mapping analysis just as a conventional heterozygous alleles pair can be used. The three most common types of markers used together are RFLP, RAPD and isogynes. Of the three marker types, RFLPs have been used the most extensively. RFLP markers have several advantages in comparison with the RAPD and isogyne markers. First point is they are codominant and unaffected by the environment. Any source DNA can be used for the analysis. Many markers can be mapped in a population that is not stressed by the effects of phenotypic mutation. The primary drawback to RAPD markers is that they are dominant and therefore heterozygous individuals cannot be distinguished. The weakness of isogyne markers is that each of the proteins that are being scored may not be expressed in the same tissue and at the same time in development. Therefore, several sampling of the genetic population need to be made. RFLP. Let's know about RFLP. Restriction fragment length polymorphism. RFLP means restriction fragment length polymorphism, a molecular marker based on the differential hybridization of cloned DNA to DNA fragments in a sample of restriction enzyme digested DNA, and the marker is specific to a single clone or restriction enzyme combination. RAPD. Let's know about RAPD, random amplified polymorphic DNA, a molecular based on the differential PCR amplification of a sample of DNAs from short oligonucleotide sequences. Let's know about isozyme, a molecular marker system based on the staining of protein with identical function but different electrophoretic mobilities. Let's know about mapping by using somatic cell hybridization. The linkage group of humans can be investigated by designed crosses used with other species. For this, other methodologies like somatic cell hybridization and chromosome binding techniques are used. Mouse-human somatic cell hybrids have been used for mapping human genes. Somatic cell hybridization was first demonstrated with mouse cells by the scientist named G. Bursky and colleagues in 1960. Somatic cell hybrids are culture lines that contain the entire complement of the mouse genome and a few human chromosomes. These culture lines are developed by mixing human and mouse cells in the presence of the UV inactivated Sendai virus or a chemical polyethylene glycol (PEG). Any one of them facilitate the fusing of the two cell types to form a hybrid cell. Initially, the nuclei of two cells are separate. This stage is called heterokaryon. When both the nuclei fuse together, then it is referred as synkaryon. For a reason that is not entirely known, most but not all human chromosomes are lost from the hybrid cell lines. Usually, a few human chromosomes are retained because the human and mouse chromosomes can be distinguished by chromosome staining techniques. It can be determined which human cells are retained with a specific cell line. Most somatic cell hybridization experiments are currently done using electron procedures that prevent the growth of the parental cells while allowing growth of hybrid cells produced by cell fusion. One widely used method of selection is to fuse mouse cells that cannot make enzyme thymidine kinase with human cells that cannot make hypoxanthine guanine phosphoribosyl transferase, that is HGPRT. In cell is DNA can be made either de novo or through a salvage pathway that uses molecular skeletons already available. The selective technique involves the application of a chemical aminoprotein that blocks the de novo synthetic pathway, confining DNA synthesis to the salvage pathway. Two essential salvage enzymes, thymidine kinase, that is TK, and hypoxanthine guanine phosphorylase transferase, HGPRT, are relevant to the system. Let's know about two reactions. Thymine in presence of thymidine kinase gives rise to thymidilic acid, a DNA precursor. Next reaction is hypoxanthine in presence of hypoxanthine guanine phosphoribosyl transferase gives rise to inosinic acid, a DNA precursor. Okay, the mouse cell line to be fused is genetically unable to make TK. TK means thymidine kinase because it is homozygous for the allele TK, whereas the human cell line is genetically unable to make HGPRT because it is homozygous at another locus for the allele HGPRT. So, genotype of the two fusing cell lines are mouse TK minus HGPRT plus or HGPRT, and human TK plus HGPRT minus by HGPRT minus, because each is deficient for one enzyme. Neither the mouse nor the human cells are able to make DNA individually. In the hybrid cells, however, the TK plus allele complements the HGPRT plus allele, so the cells can make both enzymes. Therefore, DNA is synthesized and the cells can proliferate. Most human chromosomes are eliminated from the hybrid cell cultures because their loss has no effect on the culture's ability to grow, but to continue to grow in medium containing hypoxanthine, aminopterin and thymidine HAT medium, a hybrid culture must retain at least one of the human chromosome that carries the TK allele. Different hybrid cells are grown separately into lines. Eventually, a bank of lines is produced that contains in total all the human chromosomes. Once the complement of hybrid cell lines is developed, a DNA marker can be assigned to specific chromosome. If a DNA marker hybridizes to DNA from the specific line, it must be located on one of the chromosomes in the hybrid. By analyzing the hybridization pattern in the number of lines, the DNA marker can be assigned to a specific chromosome. Because the only chromosomes in common between hybrid line 1 and 2 is chromosome 1, marker A must be located on chromosome 1. Marker B hybridizes a DNA from line 2 and 3, and because chromosome 7 is the only shared chromosome between the two lines, the marker must be on that chromosome. Finally, the fact that the only unique chromosome in hybrid 1 is number 5. Marker C must be located on that chromosome. Thank you.